Thank you for joining me. My name is Tina Kverkic. There we go, Tina Kverkic, and I am Northern Stamper. And this is the bundle of the month, and it is called Sketched Butterflies. This is a really nice set. I can do a lot of items and projects with this. Just to let you know, in case you need to know, there are 10 stamps that are in here. It's always marked down on the bottom here, so there's 10 in here. And if you are looking for the dies come in a separate package, the Sketch Butterfly dies. If you look down in the bottom left area, it says very lightly, it is 8 dies altogether. So when you are counting up your dies, you know how many there are. Always look in the bottom left area, and it tells you the number that you have there. So we are using Sketch Butterflies, so let's get started. We are going to be creating this very simple card. It is made with inks and stamps and paper. Very simple, but it is really stunning. You can't quite tell, but there is some Wink of Stella on the butterflies. And when I put the Wink of Stella on, I did place it, oh, there we go, on certain areas. This one has it in those spots and along the edge. This one has it inside the little wings, and this one has it just on the dots. So it's a very simple card to create with inks and stamps. So let's get started. You will need Memento for the outline, and choose a variety of colors. I'm going to be choosing Bubble Bath, Summer Splash, and Peach Pie for the little squares that I'm going to be creating, and I will walk you through on how to do that. Okay, so get those started. You will need a piece of basic white for the card base. And you will need a scrap of paper. So I'm using this scrap, and what I'm going to do is we are going to be cutting out squares in these to use as masks. So I'm going to let you do that, and we will get started. So I have my card base here. It's just a regular card base, but I'm going to be placing that aside, so I am not going to be starting with the card base at first. What I want to do is I want to bring into that scrap piece. I'm going to lay it down, and you will need either some kind of dies that create a shape. You can use circles or any other shape that you have. I am going to be using squares, so what I want to do is look for different size squares, and I'm going to take in my stamp set, and I'm going to lay it on top to match, see what squares that fit on there. So I'm going to keep going. That one's too big, those are too large, and I'm going to keep going through the squares that I have to find some that fit on there. So it's going to just might take me a second. Sorry for the glare, but so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for some dies that are just about the right size of the butterflies. I want some of them to be the butterflies to be larger than the square, and this one I'm going to be using that fits right in there. So there are the 3 different squares, or whatever shape you want to use, I'm going to be using on my card. I'm going to take those squares, those dies, and I'm going to take these to my cut and emboss machine, and what I want to do is I want to create a mask. So I'm going to be cutting these out. I want to leave enough space in between so that when I use my blending brushes, so I'm going to be using my blending brush, so when I brush, they're not really close so that I'll overbrush. I want to have space that when I brush, there will be enough space all the way around each square, and the colors won't muddle into each other. Now, I have them in the spot that I want. To keep them there, I'm just going to place a post-it note on top, okay, just so that they don't move. Okay, this kind of holds it in place and in the exact spot that I want it for. Post-it notes are really great. They are quite helpful. Some people use washi tape, but either one works well for you. So I'm going to go cut these out, and I will be right back. And so I have them cut out. Let's take these off and see how it turned out. Great. So I have 3 different square masks, and what these will be used on the card. So now that we have this cut out, we can bring our card back in. And the idea, what I want to do is I want to place one here, and one at the top. So I'm imagining 3 different butterflies. You can have them in whatever design that you want. So 1, I'm going to do the largest, 2, and then 3. Okay. Now I want to make sure that I get the butterfly on correctly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my blending brushes, and I'm going to place those on first. Okay. So again, I'm going to start with the largest one, and I want to make sure that there is an edge around. So I'm not going to put it right up to the corner. I'm going to look, and I'm going to place it on top like that. And I will use a little bit of tape to kind of hold the mask in place. This actually will work really well. So I can lift up the mask. So I'm just putting, I'm just putting the mask on the side here. I'm going to lift it up, double check that it has a little bit of space. There we go. And okay, and I'm going to choose my first color, and I am going to work with Summer Splash. I like that in the corner. I think it's going to look really, really nice. So I'm going to get a little bit of Summer Splash on my blending brush. Now when you blend, make sure that you are doing little circles and then bring it into the square onto the paper. Because if you start right on the paper, you are going to end up with a big blob, and that's hard to get out. And we're going to be adding the color, and I'm going to be going around in little circles, adding the color in. Okay, and I'm going to lift that up, and that is going to have that piece right there. Oh, I got a little smudge there, but that's okay. So I'm going to move on to the next color. And it will be Bubble Bath, and it will be the other square. So I'm going to be going down in size. Again, you know what? You can overlap these squares if you want. It is totally up to you. That would look actually very interesting also. So I'm going to kind of line it up so that the square, because I got a bit of a smudge, I'm going to try and cover that with that color. I want it to be somewhat even, so straight. So I'm going to try and find that straight line. And I'm just going to bring it in. Again, I'm going to tape it down, and I'm going to use another color. For this, let's use some Bubble Bath and add some of that color in. Okay, going to pick up that color. Again, on the paper to see if it like blots at all. And then I'm going to be bringing in that color. Now you see, because we made the masks wide, we don't have to worry about going into the other squares. Okay, so you can't quite tell, but it is fairly dark. And when I lift it up, there is the spot on there. There's a bit of there, the blue, but I'm going to try and cover it with the butterfly. Okay. The last square, what I'm going to do is move it up and over there. Again, I'm going to be taping it down. And the last color I'm going to be using, I've decided, is I'm going to be using Peach Pie. So I ink it up. Again, on the paper, make sure that it's not overly dark, and I'm going to carefully blend in the color. That I don't want it too dark, so I'll just do a little bit on that. Okay. And when I lift this up, there will be the 3 spots for where the butterflies are going to go. Okay, so I have that. The next, what I want to do is I'm going to be placing my butterflies on. And if I were just to use the stamp pad, I can see how they would fit. I'm going to put this one on like that. Take the second largest, kind of go this way. And then the smaller one, I will take kind of like that. And in the middle, what I can do is add a sentiment once I finish stamping those. And we will be using those with Memento black ink. So let's get these guys on some blocks and get some stamping going. Now you want to make sure that the block that you have is large enough to hold your image. So I don't think this guy, oh, this guy will fit right on that. Okay, this guy on here. And I'm going to get a larger block for that one because this one doesn't quite fit. See how the wings go over? If I do that, I have the possibility of not being able to stamp those images. So let's pull in a larger block and I'm just going to place him on there. We are going to be using our Memento black ink for this portion. And I'm going to ink up the large butterfly. I like to add the ink because it's a larger stamp. I like to take my ink pad and stamp on the stamp itself. It just, for me, when it's large like that, it just makes it easier. And oops, I'm going to actually open up the card so that's a nice even pressure. Okay, remember, no rocking, just straight up and down. And there we go, looking good. And I'm going to continue that for the other two. I'm adding the ink. Before you stamp, always double check, take a look that it's well inked. And I'm going to add that one over there. See, I kind of was able to cover that little mistake that I had. And the final butterfly I'm going to be adding in. Double check. Okay. And adding him in there. Oh, they look fantastic. Before I go any further, what I want to do is I'm going to actually clean my stamps. And I just don't want to leave the ink on there. So I will do that and we will continue on with the sentiment. Let's take a look at the different sentiments that we have in here. There's a whole bunch that you can choose from. And what I want to do is I can either try and fit a sentiment in this white spot or this one or up there. So what the easiest thing to do is to take your sentiment and lay it down. So this one doesn't quite fit. It kind of butts up against with the butterflies. It may actually fit up there. Let's see what we can do with the other sentiments. Again, I can place this one here, thinking of you. That would that actually would look really good. Kind of crowded in there or up there. So that one I think I'm going to place there. Or I could use the longer one up on the top. There is another one that just says thank you, so that fits in there. Again, that one fits actually in that little spot or up on the top. And I think I'm going to place it here because I think it kind of gives a balance. And I'm going to go with the thank you. And I want to do that also in Memento black ink. So let's get that on an ink block. Going to ink it up. Double check. And I'm going to stamp that straight up and down. There we go. Ink, paper, and stamps. Very simple. All we need to do now is add some embellishments. And I'm going to be adding these embellishments here. I can add the different colors. The green would look good. The dark green would look really good. But I think I'm going to add some of these more opaque color dots. I'm going to kind of do some here and add them around. So there we go. And to finish up this card, I'm going to be adding a little bit of Wink of Stella on that. As you can see, it looks really nice already. And I'm going to be adding some Wink of Stella to some of these butterflies. Now I'm going to be carefully dabbing. I'm not going to try and use like a paintbrush. I'm dabbing the areas where I want the Wink of Stella, just to make sure that it doesn't smudge or blend in any of the ink. So just dotting it along, and there we go. And I'm just going to put it in spots that I want to highlight on the butterflies. There we go. Very simple, a very simple card using ink, paper, and stamps. So that is that one. I hope you enjoy it. Let's continue on to another one.